What's up guys, this is Rick from levelupyourgame.com. Today I'm here to review the eTokki Omni arcade stick. The stick is a dual modded stick. It works for both PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360 as well as PC. You can get it from eTokki.com. Now the main difference between this stick and all the other sticks out there though is that this is a Korean stick. Now it comes in both versions, Korean or Sanwa, and you'll be able to swap out these parts which we'll show you in a separate video. But for now, let's get on with the review and I'm going to start off with the aesthetics. Alrighty, so as far as the aesthetic of the stick goes, you're going to notice that it's all black. So the stick is black, the buttons are black, the base and the metal is all black. Basically, it's a pretty good looking stick. The only thing that's not black is these buttons on the back. You'll notice that the buttons on the back are all yellow. These buttons here, we'll get to them later, but they are basically Korean buttons, so they're crown buttons. But the buttons on the back are Sanwa buttons. So that's what you can use for your select, start, turbo, and home buttons. The base is all metal as well. And this is version 3 of this Omni stick, and with version 3 that means it's got a heavy duty steel body frame, and basically that's going to make it more sturdy overall. It also has a smooth powder coat finish on the black, so all this stuff is going to be a lot smoother for your hands. Another thing about the version 3 is that the plexiglass edge has been revamped, so now it's got a rounded edge. So I guess some people are complaining about their wrists getting like scratched up or something, but that's not the case anymore. I've used the stick for about 2 weeks and have none of those issues. So let's go ahead then and move on to the features of the stick. The number one feature of this stick is going to be that this is a dual modded stick. So because it's dual modded, you're going to be able to use it in both your PlayStation or your Xbox, no problem. All you're going to have to do is hold this turbo button over here, and it's going to allow you to swap between consoles. So when you're plugging it in, hold the turbo button down, plug it in, and you're going to be good to go on that console. Say you've been using an Xbox, now you're going to switch to PlayStation. All the time you've been using Xbox, you haven't had to hit that button at all. Now you can use it for PlayStation for the first time again. Hold the button, plug it in, you're good to go on PlayStation. So that's just how it's going to be. It's really easy to swap between consoles since this is a dual modded stick. And I guess that is another one of the features. This is a turbo button on the stick. It also has a home button, select, and start. These are unmarked actually, so it's actually quite difficult to figure it out actually, but once you know what they are, it's not too difficult at all. Another big feature of the stick is that it's designed to be swappable between Japanese and Korean parts. So right now this is the version that comes with the Korean stick and the Korean buttons. However, it's easily swappable to the Japanese sticks and buttons as well. Now, one of the other features of the stick is that it is the new Noir layout, which is found in the Tekken Tag 2 cabinets. And this basically means that there's more space between the stick and the buttons, and I think the layout of the buttons is actually slightly more curved. So if we compare this to the 8-arc fusion stick that I have, you're going to notice the difference between the button to stick spacing as well as the layout of the buttons as well. So you see that arc right there, the buttons, and here's the arc on the Noir layout. So overall, those are the features of the stick. Let's go ahead and move on to the components of the stick. First thing, of course, it's got a Korean stick here. This is a Myeongchin Fanta stick, and the buttons here, I mentioned they are Korean buttons. These are actually specifically crown buttons, crown snap-in buttons. I believe the model number is CWB203A. So those are the primary components of the stick. These buttons are pretty different than Sanwa buttons. They're actually closer to American buttons. They have more of a hollow feel. We'll get into more specifics about the Fanta stick in general compared to the Sanwa stick in just a second. The other components of the stick though, as I mentioned before, the back buttons are all Sanwa buttons. This thing is so slippery, sorry. But here we go. Buttons on this back are all Sanwa buttons. They're not really going to matter a whole lot. They're turbo and stuff. There is new rubber feet on this version 3 of the stick, and you can tell they look like they're pretty sturdy. I haven't tried to pick them off yet or anything, but look like they're pretty good to go. A lot of Korean players like to have the stick sit on a desk rather than on their lap. So with the rubber feet, you can notice that the stick's not really moving anywhere. I'm pushing pretty hard actually, so pretty good rubber feet there. Works pretty well. So let's bring on Cynic, and he's going to talk about the difference between Sanwa sticks and between Japanese sticks and Korean sticks. Now, obviously, one of the big features of the Omni stick is that it's very customizable and very open to modders. So this allows you to swap out the Korean stick and buttons that come with the stick to Japanese stick and buttons. So here we go. Lab has been kind enough to send me all of these swappable pieces. So here we go, the nice harness to hook up to the Sanwa stick, plus the Sanwa buttons and the replacement plexi panel to swap out when you're switching out the stick and buttons, because the stick and buttons are of different sizes, as well as this hex key that allows you to take off the hex screws on the plexi. So with all that said, let's go ahead and open up the Omni and show you how to customize this thing. Alrighty, so as far as size goes, you'll notice almost immediately that the eTokki Omni stick is much shorter in terms of length. The height of the stick is about the same, but the 8-arc fusion stick is about the same size as a regular TE stick, so you'll notice that the length is significantly shorter. Now, that's not really a big deal as far as anything goes. But you will notice, as we mentioned earlier, that the button layout is different. The Omni stick is based on the new Noir cabinet style, which is what the Tekken Tag 2 cabinet runs on. The Fusion stick is the old Vuelix cabinet design. So you'll notice that the stick and the buttons are much closer there than they are on the Omni. So if that's something you're looking for, then the Omni is definitely something to consider. As far as size goes, we also have to consider the weight of the stick. The Omni stick, to me at least, first impression felt extremely heavy compared to the Fusion stick. I did like the Fusion stick because of its weight originally, but the Omni stick is even heavier. And playing on my lap, at first I thought it was a little bit uncomfortable, but I did get used to it. I've been using the stick for about 2 weeks now, I have no issues with it. As I mentioned earlier as well, Koreans do generally like to play with this on a table or a desk, and that's where the rubber feet come in. The rubber feet, of course, keep it in place very well, and the heavy weight is built for that to keep it flat on the table and prevent it from moving. One more thing we should mention about the size is that cable length. I believe it's 9.8 feet, which is pretty decent. I believe that TE stick's about 13 feet, and the 8-arc stick, I believe the cable length was somewhere around 8 feet. So the Fusion is definitely on the shorter end of that spectrum, but the Omni stick, 10 feet, pretty decent. It's pretty much all you're going to need. That about wraps up the size stuff. Anything else to mention? I guess, if anything, I should mention that the plexiglass to swap out stuff is different. So if you want to have Japanese parts, you're going to need a different plexiglass. They are available from the website as well. It is different size buttons that you're going to be mainly looking for, as well as a different size hole for the stick itself. So that about wraps up size. Let's go ahead and talk about conclusions. Alright, so that about wraps up the review for the eTokki Omni stick. Of course, being a Tekken player, as soon as I got the stick, the first thing I wanted to do was practice my Mishima stuff. I'm not a Mishima player by any means, but I spent a lot of time playing with Heihachi. If you see the stream stuff, you'll see that I was playing with a bunch of Heihachi. And as I broke in the stick, when I got the stick, I should mention that it was very stiff. But after breaking in for 2 weeks, the stick has loosened up quite a bit. At first, I couldn't do Omen Thunder Got This on it, but once I broke it in, it was no problem at all. So, generally, my movement with Mishimas on a Korean stick is a lot better than it is on a Japanese stick. Other people could explain to you why that is and why that's better, but it is obviously better. It probably has to do with the Korean stick returning to neutral a lot faster than Japanese sticks. Overall, I do like the stick a lot. It is the most customizable stick out there, so if you're looking for a stick where you can swap in a Korean stick or a Japanese stick into your Korean stick body, or vice versa, whatever, this is the stick to look for. Where's my Korean stick at? Yeah, I've had this stick sitting around since I went to Korea a couple years ago, and I've been looking for a stick to put it in, but I haven't had one. So I've had a TE stick, I have an 8-arc Fusion, but I had no place to put this guy. So now that I've got this eTokki Omni stick, I can finally pop it in. If I don't like it, I can pop in the sandwich stick, no big deal there. The cable length, 10 feet, no cable compartment kind of bothers me. I don't really like wrapping around. So that's kind of a negative. No felt bottom on the bottom, also a negative, except that this is so heavy that it doesn't really move off my lap anyway. So I don't really consider that a big negative for this stick in particular. Of course, start select buttons and stuff on the back. That's always a good thing. Turbo button, home button also on the back. So you're not going to hit those if you're just matching the buttons up here. Of course, Korean buttons, not what you really are looking forward to using most of the time. And the Plexi makes you swap completely the Japanese parts. So you can't use the Korean stick with the Japanese buttons unless you remove the Plexi, and that's kind of a hack. So you can look up into that more often later. If you guys want to see a full mod video on how to swap everything out to Japanese parts, post it up in the comments below and we'll see if we want to do it still. Because I think we showed you a lot about how to do it already. But if you guys want a full tutorial, we'll walk you through the whole thing. That about wraps it up. I think I'm going to give this stick a 9 out of 10. Be sure to check us out at Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook.com/LevelUpYourGame. And check out the website at LevelUpYourGame.com, and we will catch you guys next time. Good job. Boom!